Welcome to Saxon Math Course 3, Lesson 114, Starred Problems. Our first starred problem is question number 11. Now, question number 11 says that the first three terms of a sequence, a sub n equals 2 times n plus 3, are shown below. They're given as 5, 7, and 9. We're then asked to find what is the 100th term of the sequence. Well, remember that n is the position 100, so a sub 100 will equal 2 times 100 plus 3. 2 times 100 is 200, so a sub 100 is 203. And that's it. That's all you have to do for part A. Now, part B is a little bit trickier because it says, in what position would we find 99? And now what we're being told here is that a sub n is 99, not that n is 99. So we need to solve for n when a sub n is 99. The first thing we're going to do, remember we're going to use our inverse order of operations in order to isolate the variable. We're going to subtract 3, which will give us 2n equals 99 minus 3 is 96. Now, in order to get 2n to just be n, we need to do division by 2, which will give us 96 divided by 2 is 48. Which means that 99 is the 48th term in the sequence 2n plus 3. Now, our next starred problem is question 13, and it has some background information that we need to know before we can do question 13 and 14. Now, it says the diameter of Earth is 3 2/3 times that of the Moon. Now, the surface area of the Earth is how many times the surface area of the Moon? Well, the ratio of surface areas is surface area squared, so we're going to do 3 2/3 squared. Now, before we do 3 2/3 squared, I don't like squaring mixed numbers. Multiplying mixed numbers is no fun. I'd much rather have an improper fraction, that way I can square the top and square the bottom. So if we look up here, 3 2/3 is some quantity over 3, which represents the 3 plus 2/3. Now, if I make 3 into thirds, I would multiply 3 times 3, which would be 9, because 9 divided by 3 is 3. Then if I add across, I would get 11 thirds. Now, if we square 11, we get 121. If we square 3, we would get 9. Now, if we reduce that, this is going to reduce to 13 4/9. Now, 14 asks us the volume of the Earth is about how many times the volume of the Moon. Now, this one is giving us a multiple choice option, so I'm going to show you a cool trick, because we saw that squaring 3 2/3 gave us numbers that were pretty large already. If we were to cube it, we'd have to multiply 121 by 11 and multiply 9 by 3. And 9 by 3 is not too bad, but then we have whatever 121 times 11 is divided by 27, and that would get a little bit trickier. But since we're asking for an estimation, and we are given multiple choice options, we can use a little bit of our background knowledge about cubes and squares to figure out some information. What I want you to remember is that since 3 and 4 are on either side of 3 2/3, if we cube that, the relationship is still there. 3 2/3 cubed is between 3 cubed and 4 cubed, and it's closer to 4 than it is to 3. So if we do 3 to the power of 3, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. 4 to the power of 3 is 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64. Now, I want you to remember that 3 2/3 cubed will be between 27 and 64, and it will be closer to 64. Well, A, B, and D are all outside of that range. And C is between them and is closer to the 64. So C is our best estimate. And that makes our work a little bit easier. If you see a chance to get those nice round numbers, you should take advantage of it. All right. Now, question 15 gives us coordinates for a rectangle. It tells us that it has a point at -3, 0, -1, +1, -3, 5, and -5, 4. Now, we are asked to find the perimeter and the area of the rectangle. Now, it's important that it says it's a rectangle because that tells us some information about its opposite sides. In a rectangle, opposite sides are equal. So, we only have to find the length and the width once. We don't have to do it for all four sides. Now, these are right triangles that I formed because we were able to make this on a grid. Because they're right triangles, we can use the Pythagorean theorem. So, starting with the length. The length is the hypotenuse of a triangle with sides 1 and 2. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, which means that the length squared will be 1 plus 4, which is 5. Now, if we take the square root of both sides, the length will be the square root of 5. Now notice, since this is a length in a geometrical problem, I am not including the plus or minus, because we cannot have a negative length. Now, width is the hypotenuse of a triangle with sides 2 and 4. So we will do 2 times 2, which is 4, and 4 times 4, which is 16. 4 plus 16 is 20. Now, if we take the square root of both sides, 20 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Now, the reason I've split this up is because 4 is a perfect square and 5 is a prime number. So that means that W will equal 2 root 5. Now, the perimeter is 2 times the length plus the width. The length is root 5 plus 2 root 5. Now, that will be 2 times 3 root 5 because we have the same square root here, so we can add the 1 that's in front of this. There's 1 of them and 2 of them. That makes 3 of them. 2 times 3 is 6 root 5. Now, in order to find the area, we're going to do the length times the width. So we're going to have the square root of 5 times 2 square root 5, which would be 2 times the square root of 5 times 5, or 2 times 5, which is 10. Now, our last starred problem for today is question 25, which says a potter shapes a lump of clay with a 2-inch wide tool. They hold the tool 6 inches away from the center of the wheel. And then it asks, what is the total area that the tool sweeps out in one turn of the wheel? Find it first in terms of pi, and then use 3.14 for pi and round to the nearest square inch. Now, if we were to look at this picture here that I've tried to copy out of the book, now, from the center to the outside of where the tool is 6 inches. That's a radius. Now, we can always remember that if we're going around a circular shape, then the width of our band, which in this case is a 2-inch tool, times the circumference will give us the area of that band. Now, when I say band, I don't mean musicians. I mean like a rubber band or a ribbon or the rectangular surface that is around over here. Now, 2 times pi times r is the circumference. This radius is 6. So we're going to multiply that by the tool, which is 2 inches. So we're going to have 2 times 6 times 2 times pi. Now, 2 times 6 is 12, times 2 is 24, which will give us 24 pi inches squared. Now, if we're going to finish this off, we need to multiply that 24 pi inches squared by 3.14 for pi. So we're going to do 24 times 3.14. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 plus 1 is 5. 4 times 3 is 12. We're going to drop a 0 and then 2, which will give us 8, 2, and 6. 6 plus 0 is 6. 5 plus 8 is 13. which will give us 5 here and 7. So we'll have 2 digits to the left of our decimal place. And if we estimate that to the nearest square inch, we're just going to get 75 inches squared. And that is our final answer for 25. Now, those have been the starred problems for lesson 114 of Saxon Math Course 3. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you stay safe, stay inside, and wash your hands.